James, in the context of the season, it's not quite a full week to work with this squad, but a relative breather, I guess. How important has this week been for you?
Yeah, we've obviously been hit with injuries, haven't we? And for our spine, obviously with Kwasi, Curtis and Gunning not playing together for the last 7, it's obviously affected us. But look, Gavin's getting stronger by the day. Curtis has had a little bit of rest now, so hopefully he'll be available for this weekend. So them 2 out of the 3, obviously it's a bonus for us. And with Danny's fitness coming up to speed, because he didn't play for a period of time before he came in, I'm sure we're in good spirits and we'll have full energy tomorrow.
Excellent. And in terms of the guys that have been available for the last few, are there any that you're worried about, or are they available too?
No, they're available. The only one is Joel Taylor. He picked up an injury at Hartlepool, hence why he came off at half time. And he's out for 2 to 3 weeks.
Right, okay. And what's the nature of the injury there?
Just a groin strain, grade 1. So yeah, we couldn't risk him obviously the other day, and subsequently it was the right decision. Yeah, it's a grade 1 stroke grade 2 maximum, so 3 weeks. But obviously in this period now, any sort of injuries like that can cost you the season. So it's important. I'm pleased that we've got most of the squad available that we knew was available for the short term.
I appreciate that the results recently will not look as positive as you want them to be, but performances, you made the case that they have been. Are you fairly confident that if you deliver the same kind of performances you have been over the last few weeks, you will be able to climb back into the playoff?
Yeah, look, you would, I want to focus, I want it to be task oriented. So if you maintain performance levels, normally you get what you deserve. We haven't. Barring the Hartlepool game, we were outplayed at Hartlepool. The game was probably over at half time. Other than that, the Wrexham and Bromley performances were very strong against 2 playoff teams, where we picked up a draw, where we're obviously the better team at Wrexham. Bromley, we deservedly won. Hartlepool, not so good. And then obviously Monday, to concede 2 second phase set plays is disappointing, and it's cost us ultimately cost us the result, as well as a bit of luck. You make your own luck, but obviously with Addy's chance that slowed up in the grass. Mandeville's one wasn't at the height of a volley or a header, so it got caught in between. You've lost the game, but we can take many positives from the performance. I think certain individuals performed very highly, and we've got to maintain that performance going into tomorrow's game.
How important is that for you as a coaching group and for the players as well, that performance remains the priority, that you don't start second guessing yourself, because that's, I guess, where a season can start going into a tailspin. Yeah,
and last time when we lost 2 on the bounce, Maidenhead, I believe, Sutton was it, something like that. I can't remember the 2 losses there. We ensured we stuck to our principles. And it came to fruition in the end because we picked up 5 wins on the bounce after that. So it's important that we do stick to our principles, what we want to do, what we've been working on, and not stray away from that, because then that's when you'll have problems with your performance. So we've got to maintain the performance levels through sticking to our principles, which we will. I've no doubts. The players have been with me and the staff long enough now to know the expectancy on individual objectives and team objectives for each game. We've got to make sure we maintain those levels.
Clearly there's been a lot of attention on the next 3 games, given the relative league positions of your opponents. Obviously it's not as simple as that, but how important do you believe these next 3 games are in terms of your playoff push?
Well, we can't get away from the games previous have been important as well in the last 2 weeks, and we haven't picked up the points we wanted. Every opponent's a challenge. They've got an experienced manager. Yes, Wokin's results haven't been so good in the last 10, but nothing's easy, nothing's given in this league. We've got to make sure we're fully focused and fully respect Woking, which we will, and make sure we perform to the levels we want to.
What will be the difference, do you feel, in these next few weeks then?
Got to be more ruthless in both 18-yard boxes. You can't lose a game 2-0 when you've got 28 penalty area entries compared to the opponent's 6, and you lose 2-0. It tells you, it doesn't take a genius to work out what the problem is. Now, we've got to stop the set plays. We've been working hard in the last 3 days to make sure, through the screen, through the technology, and also on the pitch, to make sure we put that right, because that hasn't been good enough, it hasn't been professional enough. To concede goals like that off second phase is not good enough. We know that, and ultimately it's cost us points in the last 2 weeks. So as long as we get that right that end, because in open play we're restricting opponents to minimal shots a game. Nothing's changed there. And ultimately, in the final bit, we need to make sure when we get the chances, we put it away, which I'm sure we will with the firepower we've got.
This may be a simple, but perhaps a difficult question, but how do you go about coaching ruthlessness? Is that something you can coach? Is it a mentality thing? How do you do it?
And sometimes you centre forwards score one and they'll go on a run, like Kwasi, for example. You can see by his form. He had a little run where he didn't score, then he picked one up, scored, and then went on a run of 5 or 6 on the bounce. So that happens with centre forwards, and Danny Rowe's record would suggest that would happen as well. He's here for a reason. He's a very talented individual. He's also a leader in his actions as well, so he's had a good impact on the changing room. And I'm sure once he gets off the mark, he'll be scoring regularly for us, especially with the chances and the ball positions we're getting.
I wanted to ask you about something that came out of the last game with regards to stoppage time. I know you were a bit annoyed about it, and it seems like it's a thing that is actually much, much wider than the National League and all of football. I don't know whether you were aware of this, but there was a study in the World Cup, the last World Cup, that found basically about half as much stoppage time was added on as was actually meant to be in the rules. And I just wonder what we can do about it. I mean, do we take clock management out of the hands of referees? Is it something that's too difficult to manage? What do you think?
Well, I've also noticed at the highest level, obviously VAR. The stoppage time doesn't mirror the stoppages in VAR either at the highest level. At our level, compared to the EFL leagues below the Premier League, because I studied the game a lot, I watched a lot of games around the world, I just think that the time wasting at our level in particular, when a team goes up in the lead, is very questionable. From the moment that obviously they got in the lead on Monday, the goalkeeper's walking past the ball behind the goal and going to the corner flag to pick the ball up and stuff like that. I just thought it was outrageous. And obviously emotions are high because we all want to win. And they went down 3 or 4 times where they suggested they want the physio on, the physio's ready to come on, and then he doesn't come on the pitch. It's all very frustrating, isn't it? So I think 6 minutes was very, very lenient. Shouldn't have been 6 minutes. But having said that, on that day, it doesn't mark the result. If we'd have 10 minutes or 12 minutes, I'm sure we wouldn't have equalised, because it was one of those days where it was stopping on the line, it was cleared off the line, it was stopping in the grass. It was just one of those days it didn't drop to us. So, look, we're frustrated, but we just want consistency and we want to play the time. And that's, even if I'm in the lead, man of integrity, I want the right time to be played. And it's not only that, it's an entertainment business. If there's supporters and punters paying for tickets or paying for streams, they deserve to see the time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because they've been queuing outside the stadium this week to get all of the tickets for later on the final home game. How pleasing has that been to see?
It's great. It gives everyone a lift. It reminds us of what it's all about. It's about people. It's always been about people, the game, and the punters and the supporters, the community. That's the bedrock of any club, and long beyond my tenure here. I just need to make sure we get into the best possible league and the best possible league position for when my time is up here.
Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Liam. You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm good.
Do you anticipate there being a lot of twists and turns between now and the end of the season?
Well, I said before the Easter game there'll be some adversity, but there's been a bit too much adversity the last few weeks, to be honest, since that game. Obviously losing Hayden in that game, long-term injury, and then we lost Kwasi. 2 hammer blows, really. But we obviously recruited well since then. We're getting to know the relationships are being built between Manny, obviously Danny Rowe, Kai, etc. So that takes time as well. And yes, we've done that for the short term because we have got an opportunity. There is an opportunity this season. But it takes time on the training pitch, and it takes players, not just relationships on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And 2 big losses like that, and results haven't been so good, obviously, in the last 7. We need to use all of that energy and realise, we're a good team. The statistics on the games back that up, as well as my own eye, in terms of how I saw the game on Monday in particular. They're the league leaders, and really we pinned them in for long periods of the game. Just need to be more ruthless in both boxes.
What's the morale like within the group? Are they ready to, just give it one last push for these last 5 matches then? Yeah,
we're good to go. The morale's really high with the staff and the players. We know what's at stake, and hopefully, barring the Hartlepool first half where we went a little bit awry, the attitude, the application, and the team spirit's been very high on the pitch. I'm sure that's been evident in every game.
And how much are you going to be tested mentally as well as physically in this last few weeks of the season?
Yes, it's crunch time, isn't it? It's basically all or nothing now. And we've got the experience in the group. We've got winners in the group, proven winners at League One, League Two, and National League level. Also, playoff success in the squad as well in terms of getting through to the final, winning those playoffs. So we've got experience right through, and hopefully that'll come to the forefront now.
Do you anticipate it going to the last game of the season?
No, I want it to be, ideally, I want it to be finished by then. Obviously, the advantage we've got is that the teams around us are playing each other, so they both can't win, and these next four we're not. So we've got to make sure we get as many points as we can in these next four. And if it does go to the last game, it does. But obviously, I've always said I want to secure a playoff place as soon as possible. Results in the last 2 weeks perhaps have made that impossible, that it doesn't go to the last game. But let's see. We've just got to focus on ourselves, and it's got to be one game at a time. It's Woking tomorrow, and we've got to make sure we prepare right, which we have so far, and be fully focused on getting a positive result tomorrow.
And do you have a points target in mind? I suppose logically people will be saying you need to win maybe 4 out of 5 or something like that. You know, what's your thoughts on how many points or wins you might have to get?
Well, it's you're just guessing and making assumptions. If you know roughly, you have an idea. Obviously, a minimum requirement that'll give you a chance. But what the actual points will be needed to get in the top 7, who knows? But we don't want to just get in the top 7. You know, we need to be intelligent. And let's see what happens over the next 2 weeks in terms of who's in what position and what sort of game we're looking for if we can get a playoff place.
And just finally, Woking tomorrow, what are you expecting from them?
Well, they've got nothing to fear, have they? There's no relegation. They are in the relegation spots in terms of in a normal season they'll be concerned about relegation. That's what I mean by that. They haven't got that concern. They can play with freedom. Sometimes it might look false because players might be in positions where perhaps they wouldn't if they were in that relegation fight. So we've got to be aware of that and be fully aware of the positions they pick up. But ultimately, I think if we play to our potential in and out of possession and we're fully focused at those set plays and the controllables, what I call the controllables, we'll be fine.